Hey, darling. She's gonna be in my lap the entire time.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
It's a good thing, I think.
I guess it's a good thing.
At least you don't have... At least she's not, like, climbing on your keyboard.
Very true.
Right now.
That I can at least control. I can somewhat control that, I think. And now I just need to alert everyone. Hey, we're live. Yeah. All right.
We're doing cool stuff.
We're doing the cool stuff, and we invite you to come visit. I'm not sure when in the podcast it'll start, but maybe right now.
Maybe
right now. Hi, welcome to Queers and Quaggoths, where myself and the infamous Abigator go forth.
Infamous, for sure.
Oh, yes. And we will be discussing all things queer-related, as well as monster-related, and...
Yes.
What other... It's been a long time since we did this rigmarole.
Queer-related, monster-related, mostly D&D so far, but you can kind of put the D&D with the general tabletop role-playing game genre.
I guess that's a good way to put it, because it's... I figure eventually we'll move out of the monster manual, but for now I think we've found a lot of content. And
yes.
This week, I don't know if we should have any like workshop or like mailbag information, because it's just one thing after another that puts us in this dire straits of we're gonna do it.
There's a lot of we're gonna do it.
Do you know how weird making a podcast is?
Too weird, and I feel bad because for the most part I just show up and I talk, and like Fore gives me like, oh, okay, let's talk about this, and then that's all I've done so far. There's no like audio editing things because I don't know how to edit anything.
God.
Also, not talking to a live audience is very weird. So for those of you listening,
we hope this is at the moment more of a streamed service. Mm-hmm. Is it a service?
Yes, it is a service.
Yeah.
We are providing a very much needed service.
Oh, of course. So we are going to be talking about a lot of gay stuff. In fact, I believe we are going to cover the gayest thing in Dungeons and Dragons today. And he belongs to a species known as the Slaadi.
Yes.
Let me say that again. The Slaadi. Slaadi!
Slaadi. Slaadi. They're just lovely, and I can't tell you guys how pumped I am about this particular subject, because one of the first campaigns I ever played was... Well, I ever played that was DM'd by our dear Fore, basically was the whole thing was surrounded by Slaadi. And I'll have to post a picture of it somewhere, because I had a conspiracy wall.
An absurd wall of conspiracy.
Because there was so much going on. I didn't want to like look up Slaadi stuff, so I would ruin it for myself. I'll have to post a picture of it because it's lovely. But I'm so excited.
This is a subject that I think it's going to be a big hit with Abigator, because she is mainly here to get all the answers from me from that campaign. So
there's so many questions.
There's so many questions and so many various. It's just such... See, the Slaadi have a really rich lore. They have a really rich and incredibly large potential to make your campaign ever so juicy. The only problem is I never see them. I've literally probably only heard of them once or twice from folks in various... capacities as game masters. I've never heard of someone trying to run a few levels worth of crispy Slaadi content. So I decided my first attempt at streaming Dungeons and Dragons is going to be all about the Slaadi. And,
it was very successful.
I would say so. It introduced me to you, Abby.
I know, it was such a good campaign. I'll go on about this forever.
We probably will go on about this. This is good. This is the indulgent episode, and we invite you to listen as we recount and regale you with the various twists and turns of these creatures of limbo. So, before we get into like the best part, let's fill you in on what these guys are. Slaadi are big frogs.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that's a good start. They are big frogs, and they don't live in this realm or the material plane. They do. Nope. I'm adjusting makeup.
Hold. This will be edited.
No, it won't. It's staying in. Perfect. Oh. Okay. Yeah. You guys should follow our Twitter so you can see all the beauty I am crafting on my face with various liquids and powders. Anyways, Abby, I'm so glad you have our audio listeners in mind for this. I'm so proud of you.
I'm trying. Podcast mindset.
Podcast mindset, but we're
streaming it right now.
We're streaming it right now, and we're also streamer bait. Anyways, Slaadi, as you might see below, look like that. Oh wait, the audio. Fuck. If you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it.
Okay, so picture this.
Abby, help me.
I got you. So picture this. There's a frog. It's a huge, really beefy frog, and it's standing on its hind legs, just the two hind legs, and kind of longish arms, and like spikes, and it's just a kind of beefy, muscular frog. Just look up Slaadi online, Slaadi.
That's a double A.
Lots of, yes.
Yep, the only useful battery of them all.
No, I found that AAA.
Really? Nothing but remote controllers use AAA.
Oh, that's all I use batteries for anyway. So
that's a good point. There are a total in the monster manual. 1, 2, 3 pages worth. 5. Okay, if you're 5 pages worth, including a splash page with all these big beefy boys on it. That's a lot, and nobody uses them. It's a crime. So these Slaadi, where do they live? They don't live in the prime material plane. They're too great for that. These babies live in the elemental chaos of limbo. That's right. There is such a thing as elemental chaos. It is on the periodic table. Oh.
I just love it too because, like, you'd see a big frog as a monster and you're expecting it to be like, okay, yeah, regular monster, but no, these Slaadis are like masters of chaos. And whenever I say chaos, I always think of Bane from Chaos.
God, I was born in the dark. I was born in you.
That one, okay. Oh my gosh, the Game of Thrones brand. Chaos is a ladder.
It blew your mind?
Well, there was just a moment where, right before Peter Baelish, spoiler alert, right before Peter Baelish died, he was talking to Bran and trying to, like, talk him into some shit.
Hey,
and
yo, don't kill me.
And Bran was like, quoted Baelish from a while ago.
Like, yeah.
Chaos is a ladder. Just like, anyway.
And it's okay, so here's where we start with Slaadi. Slaadi live in the chaotic plane of limbo.
Yes.
This plane does not, it's outer space basically.
Yes.
And in this realm, there are chaos storms where matter and elements and just absolute ruptured chaos is just wheeling about doing widdly diddly.
Widdly diddly, guys.
It is a bad spot. And one day, this god of order looks out there and says, "Ooh, that's some noise there. I gotta take care. I gotta take care of that,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna throw this big pesticide stone." I'm gonna spray all of my order on this big rock, and I'm gonna throw it into the elemental plane of limbo, and that's gonna fix it.
Basically, just like sprayed his territory. He's just like,
Like,
this is all, yeah.
he basically made a Roomba. He turned it on, and he just sort of like pushed it into limbo, and he's like, that's gonna clean it up. Ooh, it did not clean it up, because Chaos decided, well, a big stone, big rock, full of rules. Let's bend those rules. And out of this stone, we believe that the Slaadi were born. Slaadi can only be born from, they have a very specific reproductive cycle. As I understand it, in the lore, this spawning stone, which is the stone I just mentioned in this little lore, is basically where they come from. It is what essentially binds them into being. And they carry this piece of the spawning stone inside their head. That's right. There is a Slaadi gem inside every Slaadi that has come in contact with the spawning stone. They are directly linked to it. Even Slaadi that are born outside of Limbo are drawn to it. And it is this piece of broken rules, of childlike, no thank you, my reality, that is really where we'll start. Slaadi, you might think, yeah, they're big toads now, but back then, there really wasn't any form for them to take. They were just sort of at the behest of the chaotic ooze. And in fact, let's go ahead and tell you about the big chiefs of the Slaadi, just to give you an idea on what we're dealing with when we say who rules in the Slaadi universe. I'll tell you.
Before we start, though.
Oh, go ahead.
Because that's awesome. I just wanted to point out, because I'm really big in, like, well, where did the Slaadi come from? Because right now we're coming from a very 5th edition Monster Manual Slaadi.
Oh, yes.
So,
there's context.
Yes. So, Slaadi came to be in 1st edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
The picture they have of them is
I know, it's so good. So the Slaadi were created by a guy named Charles Stross in a column of White Dwarf magazine. And so he said this of the creation. This is a direct quote.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
go!
The fact, well, the fact that I was running a fever when I came up with the Slaadi is probably not going to surprise anyone. Think of them as my independent exploration of Lovecraftiana. I didn't discover Lovecraft until a couple of years later. Think Lovecraft mythos as invented by someone who hadn't read Lovecraft or heard of him. The Slaadi were going to be basically representatives of and devotees of total chaos, and with a added warped sense of humor, which I think is absolutely amazing. They had this like just chaos, and it.
Behold.
Yes.
Chaos.
Just a second, guys. I think my pizza's here.
Pizza! In the meantime, I think I shall give you an idea on just where the Slaadi stand right now in 5th edition, because in 1st edition they came out in that column. In 2nd edition, I believe they popped in. I don't know if the Fiend Folio was 1st edition or 2nd edition. I might have to check. But their lore kind of took off in 3rd and 4th edition, in different ways. Slaadi have always had this presence in Limbo, and whenever they cross over into the material plane, Game masters or dungeon masters, you should be aware, if you use these creatures, they are there to kill and cause havoc. They are violent, they are dangerous, and they are there to basically create more Slaadi.
Sorry, where were we?
I was just sort of going into like where Slaadi advanced between editions, because like in I would say in like I don't know about second edition as much, other than that introduced the Slad Lords, who control everybody in the Slaadi, you know, hierarchy. Yes. We also have in third edition sort of. I think I didn't really see them much in third edition, honestly. I thought I saw second edition, Planescape had them, and fourth edition really went to town.
Yeah, I was about to say, in 3.0, the blue Slaad, Death Slaad, and gray Slaad, the green Slaad, and the red Slaad appear in the Monster Manual, and that's in 2000.
That's good.
And also, their roles are kind of detailed in the Manual of the Planes. The black Slaad and white Slaad appeared in the Epic Level Handbook in 2002. Mud Slaad appeared in Fiend Folio in 2003.
Fiend Folio, that's right.
And then Gormiel appeared in Dragon number 306 in April 2003. That's all like third edition adjacent.
Yeah, right. There's just so much lore.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, guys. We talked about the Spawning Stone, that Primus, the Overlord of Order. We talked about a little bit about what they look like. We've sort of talked about Limbo itself. This basically like you can make your own environment by thinking about it well enough in Limbo. It's just chaos. Chaos. Okay.
Are you ready for the Slad Lords?
I don't know. We should talk about the different kinds of Slads maybe, because
I
feel like the Slad Lords are going to take up so much content, because here's the thing. The normal format of the show, it comes into a difficult problem, because the Slad Lords are your meat and gravy. Good gracious. Like, they are immense in terms of what you can do with them.
Really badass.
Yeah, so what I think I want to do is let's cover combat and motivations for the Slaadi. Okay. And then we'll jump into the politics and our gay stories for them.
Yes, and see, okay, just a forewarning. I didn't think of any gay stories for the Slaadi, because I'm just gonna have questions about campaign stuff. So
lovely.
It's going to be me questioning Fore on a campaign that ended a while back. Yeah. So just a forewarning to all of you.
I'm looking forward to that. So, Slaadi they're really, you don't want to throw them at level 1 characters. Just saying, even the red Slaadi, your basic Slaadi, has 93 hit points. Now here's the thing. They have a lot of hit points, but they have very low ACs. I think the highest is 18. A level like 2 character can get a lucky 18 sometimes, I think.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like I think if they have a +5 to their like attack, and that's 13 right there. If they roll 13 or higher, they hit. I'd say that's a good chance of hit. The problem is, they got a lot of HP, each of them, but they also start with this wonderful second ability called Regeneration. Ugh. The Slaad regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn if it has at least 1 hit point. So this is a issue.
Yeah.
10 hit points. That's a lot. If this thing is a solo fight, I figure you can lay down the damage enough so that it won't regenerate the same amount of damage you're doing. The problem with that is, what happens when you add more dimensions to this combat if you introduce this creature? Because it can deal just as much damage as you can dish out, guaranteed.
Yeah.
multi-attack, first of all. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have multi-attack in 5th edition. They make 3 attacks.
Which is insane.
3 attacks.
You're just I'm realizing how evil you are making that. Like, I feel like that was our first combat encounter.
No. Yeah, that was
What? Evil.
The red Slaad has 3 attacks. 2 with its claws, 1 with its bite. And on top of that, it has magic resistance. It has advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects. It is resistant to acid, cold, fire, lightning, and thunder damage. And there's one its claws do 1d8 damage. 1d8. Yeah.
That's all.
And its bite does 2d4. So this is quite an enemy for your characters to go through the first few levels knowing they're going to have to fight it. And that's really what the focus of the Festival of Colors was.
Yeah.
It's a beefy boy. That's all I'll say. I read this and I was like, this is astounding. This is such a stressful battle. I want that. Yeah. And there's one more factor, which leads to the next part of the Slaadi. The red Slaad, when it attacks, inflicts a very inconvenient wound. You have to make a Constitution saving throw if a humanoid target is hit. A humanoid target. It can't even, like, procreate because it hits, like, an animal. It specifically targets humanoids. You have to make a DC 14 Constitution saving throw.
Yep.
Or you're infected with a minuscule Slaad egg.
Ugh.
That's right. The red Slaad, upon successfully striking and you failing a Constitution saving throw, implants this Slaad egg, with which, over the course of 3 months, moves to your chest cavity and basically develops into a tadpole. This tadpole, once it has reached sort of, prime emergence age, bursts, chewing its way through vital organs in one round, killing the host in the process.
It's some alien shit.
This is
what it is.
Yeah, this is aliens. Now, the tadpole is actually an okay villain for your level 1 characters to fight. It has 12 AC, it has 10 hit points, its bite does 1d4, it has all of the resistances that its mommy or daddy have. And so magic, not the right use for, killing Slaadi, unless it's necrotic or if it is divine, sort of radiant magic.
Yeah, thanks for warning me when I was a bard.
I'm so happy. And that's going to be like, that's going to make the combat really stressful, I think. Because Slaadi are those monsters that you need to investigate what they're vulnerable to, which unfortunately is a whole lot. You just have to figure out what is the best way to get the one-up on them, because standing in a fair fight against a red Slaadi is a tough course to chew. And if they get a hit off you, they have 2 chances to force you to make that Constitution saving throw. 14! That's difficult for most characters, because guess what? Most characters, when you make your character, you don't think Constitution is going to be that big of a deal until a Slaadi shows up.
Until any monster shows up. Here is my tip for any players out there. Always, 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 always have Constitution be either your first highest or your second highest stat. It makes things so much easier.
But Abby, I want to not only use strength to hit hard and good, but I want dexterity so I can jump good.
Do you want to die? If you don't want to die, you'll put your things in Constitution.
Constitution is so good. This podcast is brought to you by Constitution Metagaming.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's accurate. I will support that. I feel like that would be a very good sponsor.
I agree. This is a good Sesame Street episode. Mm-hmm. Slaadi bursting from your chest cavity. Now, the only way I imagine you could get rid of the Slaadi tadpole is by cure disease, I think, or like remove disease as a spell. Because it doesn't say you could do an operation. I know in previous editions you could maybe do an operation. It was like a really high medicine check.
Yeah.
Or the host dies. But this is the highlight of... This is the terror of the Slaadi that you need to drive home constantly against your players. Because imagine you went through a whole adventure around finding the perpetrator, finding the Slaadi that was infecting these townspeople, these villagers, and killing it. And you're like, yes, we did it. But oh no. Josh, the wizard, and Jerry, the rogue, got slapped, and they failed the Constitution saving throws. Mm-hmm. Now you have to have an adventure about curing them. Mm-hmm. Because nobody has removed disease yet.
And then you have to just kind of assume that if somebody, like, if you go into a hospital or something and you're like, oh no, you're healed, you have to just either trust that
exactly. I mean? Like then
your character doesn't know unless you know a lot of Slaad lore. Like it has to be from my understanding, it has to be some kind of like a divine healing.
Yep. Well, no, because I did something very mean with you guys in your campaign.
You suck.
We'll have a whole segment for my campaign. Because I love Slaadi. They are probably like my second favorite monster in the Monster Manual. They are fantastic. Because guess what? Red Slaadi is not the end of it. There's a blue! There's a blue! There's a blue Slaadi. Blue Slaadi, boom, 15 AC, 123 health points, magic resistance, regeneration, same 3 attacks except both the bite and the claw do 2d6 plus 5.
Stupid.
That's every round possibly doing, what is that? 2d6, that's 6d6. 36 plus 15. If they get max damage, they can do at least 50 damage per round if they hit all their attacks. By the way, if they hit with their claws, DC 15 Constitution saving throw, or you're infected with the Chaos Phage, my dear. The Chaos Phage is a little bit kinder than the Red Slaadi. And by the way, I gotta show you guys the Red Slaad. I have my, or the Blue Slaad. I have my Red Slaad here. But I want to show you that big boy. Because they're all
beefy.
Oh yeah, here's that big boy. And he has 2 big hooks jutting out of his claw, his hands. It is devastating what happens next. But it's preferable, considering what happens if you're infected with a red Slaad. This Chaos Phage is bad. It's not good. Everything is bad, but I mean, it's either this or you die. Firstly, while infected with the Chaos Phage, you cannot regain hit points. At all. You just can't. It's not allowed. It doesn't work. And your hit point maximum is reduced by 3d6 every 24 hours.
That was the worst. Like,
yep.
You guys can't imagine think of a long-term campaign, and your character has this, like, weird disease, and your total hit points, there's nothing you can do.
Oh. You can't, cure wounds doesn't work. Medicine doesn't work.
Nope.
Nothing works.
Praying
and
doesn't work.
it goes down every 24 hours, and once you hit 0, your character instantly transforms into a red Slaad, or, if you have the ability to cast 3rd level spells, a green Slaad.
Oh.
Only a wish spell can reverse this transformation.
I didn't know that.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
So, you have 2 different adventures after you kill the Slaad proponent. If it's a red Slaad, you gotta race against time to get your, over the course of 3 months, to get that Slaad pole taken care of.
Yes, exactly. If you know that it's 3 months.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could be like, any second, there's going to be this weird slug that bursts out of my chest. There's just... I feel like, especially with this, if you are running a campaign with Slaad in them, keep that element of the players don't know
if they're infected,
like,
or when it's going to happen,
or when it's going to happen, or how to cure it, or if that actually helps. That whole idea of like, I think this is how it works, but not really. It will drive your players to put post-it notes up on their wall like a crazy person trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
I'm so proud. The Chaos Phage, it's so much worse though, because at least with the Slaad pole egg, you got 3 months. This thing, in less than 3 days, I imagine, if those 3d6s roll high enough, you're slatified.
Yeah.
It's just messed up. So,
because even like with the blue Slaad, with the transformation, if you're just going into a red Slaad, it's almost like they, it almost seems like a werewolf-like disease. You just like, so instead of like something bursting from you, you literally turn into the Slaad. Like,
you become your enemy.
Which also would be really interesting from like a player's perspective.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, like, oh, now you're a Slaad.
Like, you ran out of time. Your friends weren't able to figure out what was going on. Congratulations. That may be more horrifying than the Slaad pull leg, because you're still alive. So I'd say it builds a lot more drama for your players. This leads into Green Slaad. Now, Green Slaadi, they don't have the Chaos Phage or Slaad pole eggs. They instead are, how to say,
spellcasters?
I guess, yeah, they're spellcasters, but they're also like high on the totem pole, because we have to remember there's a hierarchy within the Slaad ranks. Red Slaadi, blue Slaadi, green Slaadi. Green Slaadi probably call the shots and back up these packs of red and blue Slaad. Now, this Slaadi is a shape changer. It can use its action to polymorph into a small or medium humanoid, and
that is terrifying as
well. It's also pretty spooky. It can be it's got innate spellcasting. It has detect thoughts, fear, invisibility, fireball. It's just, and again, it still has this magic resistance and regeneration. And it also has 127 HP, so if you're able to figure out who in town is the green Slaadi and is, like, letting the red and blue Slaad do this, that's even more terrifying. Your characters need to be paranoid, essentially.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. It makes 3 attacks. One with its bite, 2 with its claws or staff, or alternatively, it can use Hurl Flame twice. Hurl Flame is 60 feet. It does 3d6 of fire damage, and it ignites any flammable objects that aren't being worn or carried.
It's the worst.
It's about the worst. There's 2 of those. So again, 36 damage if he rolls high enough. The claws, thankfully, are only 1d6.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a bit weaker, but the staff is 2d6, so I imagine there's just so much priority. Like, the battle changes immediately if there's a green Slaadi on the battlefield.
Yes.
It changes vastly.
Mm-hmm. If you know that there's a green Slaad in the mix, it's especially hard and this is a good thing to, like, keep, if you're doing a campaign, you're keeping your players in the dark, the thing that they can transform into somebody should be terrifying, because you don't know who the fuck. The green Slaad could be anybody. You don't know.
You don't know.
You just don't know.
You don't know.
It could be the mayor. It could be the head person of a hospital. It could be little Jimmy John who's running down the street. You don't know.
Jimmy John is suspect. That is suspect. I'm sorry. Now we go to green Slaad or gray Slaadi, because if we keep going up, we keep going up. Gray Slaadi are basically, they're kind of the bosses, in a sense, of all the lesser Slaadi, because the green Slaadi are still on the bill of, yeah, I can cast magic, but I'm nowhere near a gray Slaadi. Gray Slaadi, now we talked about red Slaadi. Red Slaadi birth blue Slaadi, and blue Slaadi birth red Slaadi. And either of them can birth a green Slaadi if you are, a magic user. But gray Slaadi can only be made from a green Slaad. And the way they do this is pretty... I love this. It's pretty awesome. Gray Slaadi... a green Slaadi can only become a gray Slaadi at some unpredictable point in its existence. They have to magically, instantly, and permanently transform into a gray Slaadi. This knowledge can take years or even decades. It's not yet figured out how they do this.
Wikipedia led me astray.
Wait, do you know? I'm only reading what's in the 5th edition notebook.
So this is what Wikipedia says about Grey Slaadi. Green Slaadi, upon reaching its 100th year of life, will retreat into isolation for the duration of about a year. Upon its return, it has transformed into the smaller but more powerful Grey Slaad, which focus more on spellcasting than other Slaadi. So basically, it's one of those, like, I'm old, I'm going back to Limbo to rest, and then it just comes back more powerful, like, it's me.
It's like,
I'm a Grey Slaadi.
It's me. Oh, I love it. Now, Grey Slaadi, they come back into town. They roll back with 18 natural armor.
Ooh.
And that AC is juicy. Shape changer, they can still change shapes. They have a few. They have some more magic in store. They have plane shift. That's a big.
Yes.
That's a big win for them. Tongues, major image. They can fly too. That's fun. Let's see. Their weapon attacks are magical. It's very explicit about that. They have a great sword that they can bring to the battle. I think that's fun.
Which is ridiculous.
I guess.
Just imagine a gray frog.
It hardly needs it.
Beefy gray frog flying through the air with a fucking great sword.
I forgot to show people the green Slaadi. That's the green Slaad.
It's the most ridiculous, like...
It's so goofy. I love it so much. So these gray Slaad, their claws do 1d8. Their bite does 1d6. So they have a lot in their arsenal. And they're still regenerating. They're still resistant to magic. They're still devastatingly keen on killing you if they want to. If there is even like I'm just imagining, like, if you had just 4 of these red or blue slaads with a green and 1 gray, that can take down any party pretty quick, I imagine, if they have the right setup. It's so difficult. I love these creatures because you have to take them seriously.
Yes.
The combat is just as interesting as their lore, and that's why I was so interested in them. Now,
I love it too because you originally, like, you look at them or you hear them described and you're like, giant frogs, whatever. They're silly looking. These fucking things are ridiculous. I don't know why they chose. Maybe it was because they wanted to be underestimated. Maybe that's why they chose the froggy Fore. But these.
Actually, I have the answer.
Ooh, please tell me.
No, not yet. We have to get through the death slaad.
Okay.
All right. So here's where we're at. The gray slaadi rule over all the lesser slaadi. They boss them around. They tell them what to do. They say, we're gonna invade this human town and we're gonna get some babies. Green slaadi, you make sure this happens. You keep low cover and you infiltrate. Blue slaadi, you make sure that we get some people poked. Red slaadi, do what you want. You suck, by the way, red slaadi. You're the lowest on the totem pole. Yeah. Because blue slaadi are the gorillas. They're massive. Yo. Yeah. The gray slaad serve the death slaadi. Death slaads were once gray slaads who, in order to become a death slaad, devoured the corpse of a death slaad. That is the only way they can become death slaads and basically rule over the negative energy plane of chaos. It's corruption to the fullest. And death slaad are driven with this quest to infect and build their numbers across the plains. Death slaadi have 170 HP. They're still shape changing, still got resistance, still regenerate. They have Cloud Kill as a new spell.
Boo.
Cloud Kill lives up to its name, trust me. And they still make 3 attacks with the greatsword, the claw, and everything else. They're devastating. That's all I can say.
Like, yeah. And plus, even the name, it's so like the
It's a death slaad.
Death. It's ridiculous.
Ooh. Now, here's the thing.
Tell me.
Death slaads, there's not a lot of them. No. For a reason. And that reason, I'm going to tell you right now, is because, as you might imagine, there's a lot of backstabbing and sneaky stuff going on in the background in the Slaad society. And this is because, despite being creatures of chaos and seeking to engorge themselves on that delightful ripping order asunder, basically, there is a slight bit of control and law that must be followed. This is enforced by 2 Slaadi. They, however, do not look anything like these creatures we have described. There are 2 Slaad Lords, known as Yagorl, the Slaad Lord of Entropy, and Sendam, the Slaad Lord of Madness and Insanity. These are, as far as we know, the oldest Slaad in existence, and Yagorl is probably the most dangerous being in planar, in the elemental planes, and I imagine, because he is unstoppable, essentially.
Yeah.
Basically, he is the instrument of destruction for the material plane. His goal is to infuse the other planes with chaos and with his kin. He, above all else, wishes to remain in control and in power. He is a giant black skeleton with a scythe and devil horns and bat wings.
Yes.
And he gets real pissed. And in second edition, when we got a fun article from Dragon Magazine about these kids, he could kill you in one shot if he rolled high enough, because his scythe just happened to have death written on it in some unknown language. It's
the Slaad word for death.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Yep.
On his sickle. Apparently it's an 8-inch sickle.
Jeez. This fellow also has this dragon in his service, this really old dragon that just, will help him out if it wants to. Yogorl is nothing is nothing compared to Sendam, though, because even he is wary of her. Now, Sendam is basically a big golden pile of jelly.
It's an amoeba.
An amoeba. Thank you. This Slaad is basically the guardian of the spawning stone. She is insane because she embodies the damage that Limbo can wrought on your mind and on your sanity. She kills anything she doesn't like, or basically infuses it with her own insane properties. She's incredibly powerful.
Yes.
And has only one goal, essentially, that she will ever recognize, and that is protecting the spawning stone.
Yes.
Now, Yogorl's objective is to spread Slaadi in any way possible. These two Slaad lords are on par with any of the demon lords of the Abyss. The Demogorgon, he would have a tough trouble trying to handle even just one of these guys.
Yeah.
So this just, again, makes me question, why aren't we seeing more of these beasties? Why are Slaadi not making big attacks like the Hells and the Abyss are? I want to see them more in, like, prime material from D&D.
Right?
There's just so much here that you can make an adventure out of. Just out of that.
No, I totally agree. And this is, again, coming from somebody who, like, had a campaign, a long-term campaign, that was run just from, like, Slaadi. It was so interesting, and it was so much fun.
Thank you! I was the dungeon master. That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah.
Now, that was what really drew me, was the relationship between the Slaad lords, the Death Slaad, the Grey Slaad, all the way down to the Red Slaad.
Yes.
Now, my campaign, which I'm going to get into now, because it involves you. Now, this is Queers and Quaggoths. You guys are here for some fucking queer stuff. We are there. We have reached the pinnacle of the mountain, and it is rainbows all over. Because my campaign, the Festival of Colors, focused almost entirely on this character known as Renbu.
Yes, Renbu! He's my favorite.
The Slaad Lord of Colors. And the youngest of the Slaad Lords. Rembu is my favorite character in all D&D mythos because he gives no fucks. He is a tall, flamboyant Slaad with a gorgeous white mane of hair and an iridescent cloak. And his skin and scales are ever-changing in their hue. He is literally a rainbow. They don't call him Slaad Lord of Colors for nothing.
Oh my gosh. So that's just how he looks.
That's just how he looks. How he acts is appalling in nature.
Just the most self-obsessed.
Oh my god. So here's the thing. We start with Yugorl. I want to dominate the material plane and spread the Slaadi through its blah blah blah. Yugorl is mean. And Sendum is like, I'm crazy. Don't touch my stone or I'm gonna rip you up.
I don't care about nothing.
I don't care about nothing. You're nothing. You're nobody. I'm crazy. Rembu is like, I thought up a bush today. I'm going to paint that bush. What's this? The material plane has a sunrise. I think I'll paint that sunrise. I wonder what would happen if you changed this gold dragon into a black dragon.
Let's just try it.
Let's just try it. Why not? It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I mean,
What's
it's
the worst that can happen?
If I thought of it, it has to be a good idea. This is how Rembu operates. Rembu thinks of something, immediately it's genius. It's. I'm just appalled. That's
every single idea is. Oh my gosh. Everybody, this is the best idea that has ever happened anywhere.
Brilliant! I am brilliant! He is a hipster.
Yes. I love it.
He lives in limbo in this large gallery, the Gallery of Colors, where he puts all of his beautiful works of art. The only thing Rembu cares about is making art and making sure everybody knows he's awesome.
Yep.
He has one ability, however, that makes him a threat to Yugorl. Rembu, if he wants, can change the color of Slaadi whenever he wants. Just willy-nilly. If they leave him a good review, like, I really enjoyed your combination of dark hues and sunset velvets and if they say like some cheap shit like that, they could go up in the hierarchy. Red Slaad could go green Slaad, like with a flick of the wrist. That's bad, because then these Slaadi are going to listen to Rembu instead of listening to your girl, because your girl might just kill them if they don't listen to him. Rembu, he might just play a prank on them if they piss him off.
Rembu would be like, oh, fuck you.
Ah, fuck, you're invisible for a whole week, so I don't have to see you. Get out of here. That's some of the... He can do some bad shit. Once he turned a drow into like negative colors. Like he turned the drow into like this sunlight white.
Really?
Like instead of like this gray color, he turned him into an iridescent light bulb essentially.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Rembu is a little shit. But he's like a lovable little shit.
Imagine the youngest child in a big family who doesn't feel like he has enough attention.
Oh, of course not. Even though he's showered with gifts. He has everything he could possibly want.
And is constantly... No, think of what's his name from Home Alone.
Calvin?
Yes.
Oh no.
Just, you leave him alone, and he's like, best idea ever. I'm going to go snowboarding down my own stairs. It will be awesome.
I'm gonna try shaving cream for the first time. Aftershave.
Think of like.
Can I have fan art of that? Just Rainbow going, ah! Who would be the wet bandits then?
Ooh.
Ooh, who in D&D could be the wet bandits, the players? And he builds all these Yeah, actually, that was gonna. Okay, let's talk about the campaign because I want to get to this. So, this is this gay story. This week is going to be all about Rimbu and what was going to happen in my campaign.
Yes.
So my campaign, the Festival of Colors, which Abby was in and was how I met Abby, was all about essentially a mysterious Slaadi was in the town of Braunfels while a festival for art and theater was going on, and the player characters had to figure out where this Slaadi was. They had to track down the infestation before it got out of control. And in the end, it turns out that Rimbu is there because he loves festivals. He loves all this color and bright stuff and these games and all sorts of wild things.
My favorite is still, because this whole time Renbu was disguised as somebody else, Lady Dwarf, who was just the most ridiculous. Whoa!
No, I literally like, ooh, you're hunting for Slaadi, are you? Well, that sounds very brave. I'll help you.
One of my favorite moments was it connected in my brain, like, if Renbu was going to turn into anybody who we've had encounters with, it's gonna be that dwarf lady.
Yep. She was this rich merchant who was like, I'm a patron of the arts. I'm looking for talent. Have you seen any talent? Because it's awful barren in here. And she was real saucy. So here's the thing. I think Rimbu would eventually get sort of bored in Limbo. He would get what he wanted out of his like attendance, because he probably has like a cult of Slaadi that are like, oh, we love you. You're so different from your girl. You don't feed us to a dragon or kill us if we don't listen to you. And he's like, that's very nice.
Turn us into a green slat.
Yeah. Now make me a giant gorilla Slaadi. Rimbu likes to take trips to the prime material plane to just have fun. He goes on vacations all the time. And it's unfortunate that he came to this place when this was going on, because it turns out he went there for a specific reason. He went there to see what sort of art his apprentices would make. Yes, I gave Rimbu 3 different apprentices that learned art and magic from him. And they had entered the contest for this festival, and they were trying to win, but what they didn't know was that all 3 of them were actually apprentices of Renbu, and that they were competing against each other, and that he was watching to see who would win. And it was very, very silly. Now, Renbu is super flamboyant. I made no, he was just loud. Like, once he finally revealed himself, I immediately made it into a charm spell. Like, he just has this instant charm to him. So, like, when they like turned off his like polymorph or his like illusion, he just was like ecstatic. Oh well, everybody can see me in my splendor now. And
there was no like, oh no.
No, everybody was like, "There's a giant frog man."
And he's just like, "I'm gonna charm everybody." Now everybody talk about how awesome I am.
And they did, and he charmed the entire town. I rolled for it.
Yep.
And it was wild. I think every player but one was charmed by him. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I sort of would have gotten deeper into sort of his, because obviously Renbu has flaws. He's very self-centered. He's incredibly spoiled. But I don't know how I sort of was waiting to see how I would introduce his sexuality, or, in my opinion, lack thereof. I really purely considered him to be either asexual or pansexual, because I don't believe he really could conceive of romance. Maybe
that's the other thing.
Like maybe a fondness or a friendship, but I don't think he could ever really find himself attracted to someone in that way, especially with how he looks at everything with this artistic observation, this keen eye for basically his own interpretation of the world around him.
I also think that he doesn't have the patience to be in any romantic relationship, because if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, usually you have to have some time in there to make it true romance. I just don't think knowing Renbu, I don't think he has the patience to like deal with just one person in that way for a good deal of time.
Oh man,
because he just gets bored so easily. He's just like, but my art, like, that's above everything else is his artistic
integrity
pursuits. Yeah, like it's just more important than anything.
Which I feel like there's a lot to put into that, and really, I was going to explore some queer themes with his apprentices. Actually,
yes.
One of his apprentices would be in possession of a belt of basically changing their gender.
That was the best.
Well, maybe their sex, because they already identified as a man.
Yeah.
And they would use this item that they had taken from Renbu's gallery in order to essentially be who they are.
Yeah.
And they used that in a moment to scold Renbu in this really nice moment that we ended the session on.
It was such a good scene, because all the players, like, you could see that some of them didn't get it at first.
But you were like, there's a thing that you do, Abby, where you mute your audio and we see on the camera that you're going,
I really am bad at keeping my reactions in check.
She flails her arms or lifts them in the air like you're just like, oh, I love it. It's beautiful.
And I need to express, because it was such a good moment where, like, this apprentice had obviously had a history with Renbu, and there was just a moment where he was being a dick. Renbu was being a dick. He just like she just throws off the belt and is like, "You don't care about anything or anyone, and I was your apprentice for years." And you could see Renbu kind of like get scolded and just be like, "Oh, I don't like this.
I don't like this at all.
I don't like this." So good.
So and this is also a moment that I really want to emphasize, that I feel as though we should also talk about asexual opportunities for your characters and for your NPCs in D&D, because one of my best friends is asexual. I would love for them to see a character and feel like, that's how I am sometimes. But I want them to also feel, connection to someone who's not a total jerk.
Yes.
Because that's also something I really like. I don't want to put gays on a pedestal. I don't want to say that we're all perfect.
No, there's some really, really terrible
my gosh.
gay people. The same, like, there's a lot of really lovely, talented, and beautiful gay people. It's just,
of course.
It makes it very flat to have every single
LGBT which again is a trope that we should not pursue when we dungeon master. Like, if you're running a game and you pull out the shiny gay who is perfect in every way, and they can do no wrong. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
But they don't. We want them to feel real too.
Yes.
And that's sort of why I was attracted to this Renbu character, so that I could investigate, like, how do you make a character that has flaws and can eventually develop. But I definitely got the sense that I didn't want him to be a shiny gay. Mm-hmm. So I wanted,
sure.
Yeah. So I feel like I also like enjoy opportunities to like express or experience other, I guess, people's identities through, dungeon mastering. So I feel like that's one way that we can sort of use this opportunity. Like, you can use Renbu in any campaign, and
yes,
he
please.
will
Campaign.
Every campaign he will find a way to get into this campaign. This is the crux of the episode. Put asexual Renbu in your campaign and make him take charge. It is amazing. Yes. He has such a presence. You can be as goofy and as loud as you want with him, and he will reward your players immensely, because he has an entire gallery with which he can grant them some sort of magic item that he has created.
Yes. Also, as somebody who does identify as asexual, this is a reminder that asexuality doesn't always show itself in either not being... Sometimes people aren't sexually attracted to somebody. Sometimes people aren't romantically attracted to somebody. Sometimes they are romantically attracted and not sexually attracted. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. I think as long as you're being honest and you have good intentions about what character you're trying to portray, and as long as you do your research, which I personally I find very helpful when I'm trying to portray.
Is it a little sad that sometimes I feel like I research D&D monsters in a fantasy world than I do other people's sexuality?
Well, it's interesting
because I'm able to ask people I know for that opinion. I've had a big lesbian that used to be my manager at Panera Bread, and I basically grilled her for details, like what was it like coming out. Yeah. And I have an asexual friend who I don't grill them, like I'm not interrogating them, but
tell me every single aspect of your sexuality right now.
I need to know A from B to Z.
But no, and I feel like for me personally, because I do have a lot of friends who identify as something different than my sexuality. However, there are a lot of perspectives that I don't necessarily see or know about, and basically just let us know if there's a perspective that we're not like talking about.
Oh yeah, or if we're talking about it in a wrong way.
Please.
I want to
learn. I want to learn all of the things, you guys. Inform me.
quaggoths@gmail.com.
Do it. But no, so...
Well, let's actually jump onto that bandwagon, because we'll get back to, like, Festival of Colors in a moment, but I want to do OTP of the week.
OTP!
OTP!
Okay, please tell me your OTP.
All right, in a small town in your campaign, you should put a house. In this house, you should put a character that has been attacked by a blue Slaadi and has been turned into a red Slaad. And they cannot come out of the house. But nobody knows that they've transformed into a Slaadi. So, here's what you need to do. You need to make this character essential for the player characters to talk to. Basically, after your player characters have done a few adventures and they come back to this town and they're in the tavern like, yeah, this is great. What you need to do is you need to have the waiter come up. It can be a man or a woman, but they have to come up to the characters and say, hey, you're really impressive adventurers, right? And they say, yeah, we are. You need to sort of build up their confidence. Yeah. And you need to have this character tavern server be, I have this really good friend, and we were supposed to have a date in the moonlight out of the town, but they didn't come. And they made up a really bum excuse, and I don't believe them, but they won't come out. And I think I'm just worried that they don't like me. And, like, they could ask the bard, like, what do I have to do to convince them to like me? And this is, like, a good roleplay moment for them to be like, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's how you get this guy. Or here's how you get this girl. And it's a great moment for... Let's romance. You need to make this character the PC's pet project in town. Like, you need to go and you need to get some star lilies first. Yes. And you gotta do all this shit. And this is a great roleplay moment for your characters to have absolute fun hooking this character up. And this character has to be adorable. You have to make sure they are adorable. Then she or he says, well, I'm just worried that, you know, they won't like me because they didn't show up for that date. And maybe your players are like, we're gonna scold that motherfucker. We're gonna scold
that motherfucker.
Yeah, we're gonna go to that motherfucker's house. We're gonna scold him. I'm so violent.
No, it's true. Like,
it's like that's so shitty. That's so shitty. You're a local and you're asked out on the date. You say yes and you don't show up. Mm-hmm. That's so shitty.
And you know that the person at the bar probably told everybody, like, oh my gosh, I'm going on a date with so-and-so in the moonlight, and then they didn't show up. Now it's all around town that so-and-so stood you up. It's like a shame thing. Like, no. And
now here's where you draw it in. Then you say, I just wonder if I put them on the spot. Maybe they weren't comfortable coming out. Maybe it was wrong to think that they were, like, into, you know, people of the same blah, blah, blah. And
maybe I just assumed.
Exactly. Maybe I just assumed.
A friendly outing with a gal pal or just one of the guys, and I just thought it was something else, which...
We were going to open a cold one!
It's always... I'm sure as many of you have had that experience, that... Is this a thing?
Am I reading too much into the situation? It's like, now they're panicking. Now they're building up their own crisis. And they're like, and the PCs are like, please, calm down. We'll help you. And then at that point, you need to get them to go to the house. Don't have them say to the to this NPC, go to the house, ask them, make some sort of, like, have the character write a letter and be like, well, I'm just so upset right now. Can you just, like, take this letter and just make sure they're okay and make sure they're there, because nobody's seen them in a couple of days. That's the last thing you throw on them. Like, nobody's seen them in a couple of days? No, we haven't seen them do their lumberjacking. It's really weird. And and that's when that's when the characters go to the house. They bang on the door, and this red Slaadi is like, please don't come in. Everything's fine. You stood up, Jessica, you asshole. We're coming in to beat you up unless you come out right now and kiss her. No, that's not... I can't!
Jessica's here? Why would you bring Jessica?
Exactly.
Why would you bring that up?
Exactly. And Jessica's like, oh, but... Or if she's there, I don't know. You can build the scenario however you want. But the end goal is they discover that this person is a Slaadi and they are transformed. And they can... the goal is they don't kill them.
Yeah. That's the goal.
The goal is they help them come to terms and find out who in town is this blue Slaadi or green Slaadi or who is behind this. And that is the new adventure. It's an investigation in town to try to find who among them is harboring this blue Slaadi that is attacking people and turning them into blue or red Slaad. And by the end of it, the red Slaadi, they can't be turned back unless there's a wish spell. So they just have to keep living in town as a red Slaad. Here's the thing, though. Red Slaadi cannot infect other people with Slaadi eggs unless they come in contact with the spawning stone.
Which is in limbo, by the way.
Yeah, and guess what? They cannot go to limbo without plane shift. Now, the unfortunate thing is they are drawn to the spawning stone. They are instinctually like, I am going to roost at the spawning stone. So the next problem is basically, how do we like help keep this person sane? And that's where love wins. Love wins the day, because Jessica's like, I love you. Jessica. Yes, the bond that they have and share.
I guess with Jessica, it makes everything a little bit more okay. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's cute, and it's a big, cute Slaadi. She helps keep their nails trimmed so they don't poke anybody and all that stuff. And they're super strong, and now they can help fight off monsters and be the town's protector, and it's great. And that's
even more lumberjacking than before.
Fuck yeah. You could make them any job you want, because this is your OTP of the week.
Yes.
And this is how your adventure. Yeah.
It was so good.
It's also just a really fun horror experience, because Slaadi are horrible, yo. But awesome at the same time. Jeez. Yeah. Jeez.
I love the Slaadi so much. I feel like this whole episode... By the way, shout out to Fore here, who, like, basically has, like, led this episode. And I've been sitting back and like, yes, tell me more about this Slaadi. It's so good.
Regale me, you gay fuck.
Yes, yes. This is what this podcast is. /stream.
I think you are not only a good ear to throw this at, but you're also a marvelous representative for a player that I need. Because this is a DM and their player, I feel like.
I feel like, yes.
And where it's a very fun relationship, but it's also just like, you're my buddy. You're my story buddy.
Yes.
And yeah, you've been there since I started this whole silly adventure.
That was a really, I missed that campaign.
I know, right? What questions do you have?
I have so many questions. Okay.
Because, yeah, I feel like we're coming to the end of the episode pretty soon.
Yes. Okay. This question specifically about Slaadi or Renbu. So, where we left
Because it's all about Renbu.
It's all about Renbu. The campaign was all about Renbu, which is amazing.
Oh, of course.
So, question 1, where we left off, Renbu had been captured and had been taken away from Bronto.
So here's what happens in the campaign. Renbu surprises everybody. I'm Renbu, and the party is like, "That's great. Can you help us stop the Slaadi infestation?" He's like, "Well, sure." And so he does that, and then an evil wizard is like, Slaadi happen to have these Slaad gems in their head.
God damn it.
Guess what? If you take that Slaad control gem, you control the Slaadi. I'm gonna take Renbu's control gem. Bazoop! And he magics his control gem because I rolled shitty on Renbu's save. Yeah, this is one of the only ways that you can control a Slaadi and make it do whatever you want, is if you hit that Slaad gem inside its head. So Renbu is like, oh... Fuck. Guys, guess what? He got my control gem. But also guess what? I'm a smart motherfucker. I only have half my control gem in my head because I took out the other half. And I put it in my gallery of colors in Limbo. Could you go get that for me so I can not be under the control of this fucker? And
so we had to go searching for certain things
because
to get to Limbo.
Nobody had the plane shift spell. So here's what would happen. They needed to go have even bigger adventures to go get materials from various monsters that they would have to slay in order to basically go to Limbo.
Yep.
The 3 artists would each take part in these adventures to get the materials and to open the doorway, and then we would have a limbo adventure where you guys would have to like constantly use your intelligence to create a path to the Gallery of Colors. And then once you got to the Gallery of Colors, it was going to be a big dungeon of wildness. There would be upside down rooms, there would be rooms that didn't make sense, there would be rooms that felt as though they were real but they weren't. There would be all sorts of illusions and traps and all sorts of crazy things, including a fake Rembu who would guide you as a tour guide throughout some of the places until yeah, it was going to be awesome, until you had a big fight at the end of it with the wizard in order to get the control gems. And that would be the thing where you kill the wizard and you get the control gems, and Rembu is like, aha, I'm back to normal. And then it turns out the Slaad, who is already under the control of the wizard, is like, wasn't actually under control, because I'm actually Sorel, the Death Slaad.
Yes!
And I've been waiting for this moment the entire time, Remdu.
Fuck.
And she takes this control gem.
And I'm just imagining Ren being like,
oh, fuck, no! Why didn't I put that in my head? And then she's like, go into... I can't kill you.
Yeah.
Because the control gem won't let me. So how about you go into this tornado of chaos and just let it rip you apart? And he does so. And now it's a race against time to get to the center of this chaos storm that Rembu is in, and to befriend the Slaadi that lies inside it. Because there is a Slaadi. Let's see, do I have his name? There are lots of interesting Slaadi. There's Norsar the Many, who is a white Slaad lord, who basically can pull hundreds of replicas of himself into the present. And there's like thousands of him in limbo, basically like doing random shit. He's amazing. I love him. There's, oh gosh.
Torst, the Lord of Randomness.
Yeah, he's just this random motherfucker who basically just does whatever he wants. He's unstoppable. He's an unstoppable monster, and he can, like, believe the characters don't exist, or he can start talking to an invisible person. It's just wild.
Yep.
And this Chaos Storm, where this one Slaadi, I can't find his name right now, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. But essentially, he meditates inside this storm, and he can almost control it. And what the players would hopefully decide to do is, like, we're going to befriend you, and we're going to convince Rembu to rebel against the control gem and help us take down your girl.
Because your girl at that point was controlling Sorel.
Yes, and Sorel is like, well, this is just what things happen. I'm ready to become a Slaad Lord and kill Yugorl. I think what would have happened is, if they can get Rembu out of the Chaos Storm, then Sorel is like, I've come to a decision. I'm going to kill Yugorl. Come on, Rembu. And everybody is like, that's kind of suicide, but okay. And
I was about to say, because Yugorl is...
Yeah, he's wild. So basically, Sorel is going to basically make this civil war happen, and the players have to sort of like decide, where do we fit in this? Because we want, if we can get Rembu in control, he could possibly turn the Slaadi in a better direction. The problem with that, but possibly, if he can like dedicate himself to that, and that's like an adventure in of itself.
Yeah.
The problem is like they have to take out the Slaad lords in order to do that, because they need control of the spawning stone, which is Sendum's territory, and they need to stop Yugorl from getting too powerful to like basically kill everyone and do whatever he wants. If they can stop Yugorl, that's really good. So that was the end goal, was for you guys to get into a fight with Yugorl and to team up with Rembu to do it.
Yes.
Or you could just destroy the Slaad gem and kill Rembu for good.
That would make me so sad.
Yeah, because if the Slaad gem is destroyed, I believe the Slaad is killed as well.
Aww.
Yep. It's
You can't kill a Renbu. He's
But yo, that's sort of the direction I was going. And then it was just too long.
It was too long, and at that point, I believe
it was so long term.
Had gone for about a year.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, we were having scheduling issues. We were also having like attendance issues. I was actually discovering I wanted to do more than Dungeons and Dragons on stream.
Because that's when you were getting into Mouse Guard too.
Oh my god, that was when I was the Mouse Guard boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still am. As I hope to do more Mouse Guard stuff in the future, especially on just this channel. But you know, that's really the direction I had going. And now I'm on Queers and Quaggoths, which is a lovely little talk show.
Hi.
And yeah, hi. Well, and that's really all I have, unless you have any other questions, Abby. I hope that sated you and answered.
I am so sated right now.
Oh,
that was.
Man.
Yes. This whole episode has just been like one big nostalgia trip for me. It's been so nice. I love Slaadi so much.
They are awesome.
Yes. I'm hesitant to say, but I'm pretty sure they may be my favorite creatures, mostly because of that campaign and just like the general awesomeness and potential that they have as monsters and as, I don't know, parts of a campaign. Like, it's really, really cool for GMs who are interested in running a campaign that involves Slaadi.
Like, I hope just
100% recommend it.
I hope some of the ideas we presented here, queer and not, have inspired you possibly to introduce this very reclusive and lonely monster into your campaign, even just for one session. This is a good monster scenario to just indulge in once. Get your Slaadi appetite whetted, and let's finish this up by talking about what monster we want to do next.
Ooh.
Yeah, Abby,
Oh shit! It's my turn.
It's your turn because I chose Slaadi last time.
Okay.
Do you have your book handy? And don't choose Umber Hulk, please.
but
don't choose the bug beast or the Chol.
Let's.
Oh man, I have a lot. We have a lot to choose from.
I was about to say.
Do you want to do gelatinous cubes? Talking about asexuals, you can't get more asexual than that.
Yeah, I was about to say. They got the.
We also have the Volo's Guide.
I was about to say we've got that. I have been very interested because I know that owl bears are a big thing, and I don't know a lot about owl bears.
There are, like, I also want to say, like, we can do monsters just for the scenario's sake. Like, I feel like if there's a monster with a rich enough lore, we could make gay characters to be involved in that lore, just in case you're really like, I don't want to tell you the love story of an owlbear and, well, maybe that is what you're here for, like an owlbear and their lover owlbear and how they love each other. You know?
I like
it's
how
like,
that's just
it's
so,
like are we like making a Fox and the Hound owlbear love story? I guess.
No Fox and the Hound. Don't make me cry.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Nobody dies in that movie though.
I know, but it's still really sad at the end. They're all grown up.
It's also scary.
Yes.
Like, remember when he sees the shed with all the foxtails?
Yes.
And he's like, oh, what's wrong with them? And it's the most horrifying thing. I was so scared of that scene.
It was,
It was pick a monster, please.
Okay.
Oh God. Okay. There's oh man, there's so many.
I know. I don't.
Liches? Do you want?
We could just do straight up witches.
Witches. Is there a witch in the monster manual though?
I don't even know if there's a.
I don't think there is. There's like spellcasters.
Wait. I think I might have something.
You do?
How about?
Okay, I'm ready.
How about for
our fourth
next
episode?
Queers and Quaggoths, we cover mimics.
Mimics. Mimics. That's a challenge. That is a challenge.
Right?
How will you represent your fellow queers with mimics? Tune in next time for Queers and Quaggoths, and we'll let you know what we came up with. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you next time on the forefront of Queers and Quaggoths.
Thank you.
Yo. Best of luck to you in your devious adventures. Bye-bye.
Bye.